Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. Now this story right here just came out a few months ago and I thought it was really interesting. I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit because this is a subject that I've covered extensively here on the channel. And this is an actual news story. This is something these people are actually trying to do. Scientists are building a DMT machine that will help them, quote, talk to aliens. So if you've followed my channel for a while, then you know that I don't believe in these aliens or extraterrestrials or beings from another planet, as we've seen in Star Trek and Star Wars and just countless other science fiction movies and TV shows and books. I believe that these aliens, specifically the gray aliens, are actually fallen angels or demonic entities. So since we cover the language of symbols so much here on my channel, I wanted to show you a really good example of what I'm trying to convey here. This is the Apple logo. Most of us are familiar with this. And this is what happens whenever you put two of the logos together. You actually get a secret message or a hidden symbol. And of course that's the gray alien. So the Apple logo itself is connected to the idea of Adam and Eve and the apple, right? Eating the forbidden fruit. And now we have this connection to the gray alien. Once again, in my opinion, these are the fallen ones. There's also lots of research out there you can find about how the so-called Illuminati or the shadow controllers are actually in communion with these beings. And they gain insight, technology, through rituals and contacting these fallen angels. One of the most famous examples of this comes to us through Aleister Crowley, who is a very well-known occultist. If you're not familiar with him, please look into Aleister Crowley, and you'll see that he was performing some of these dark rituals and actually connected with, again, what I believe is a fallen being, a fallen angel, demonic entity, that he called Lam, L-A-M. And Lam was a source and a guide for Aleister Crowley. And this is an image of Lam that Aleister Crowley drew himself, so if you take a look at it, it very much looks like a gray alien to me. And once you understand this basic concept, you can see this in all forms of media and entertainment all around us. It's a slight spoiler alert here on It, the Clown. It's a new movie. It's coming out here in just a few days from Stephen King. But if you didn't already know, and if you hadn't read the book, it itself is actually an alien. It's a creature from outer space that comes to the earth, and it can manifest in any form it wants to. And it mostly chooses this form of a clown because its sole purpose seems to be abducting and murdering children. But even looking at this creature from outer space that has a nefarious purpose, you see the bulbous head again, much like Lam or one of the gray aliens. Or in my estimation, another fallen angel, another demon, which interestingly comes in the form of a clown. Another reason I find this story so interesting is because throughout the last few years I see the way that the mainstream media is really trying to prepare us for this idea of actually meeting the aliens, of real alien contact. They also drop a lot of stories insinuating that we are aliens ourselves. I believe it'll be a great delusion. You rarely hear any mainstream sources connect aliens or extraterrestrials with demonic entities or fallen angels. But all of this goes back to the interbreeding between the angels and man from the Bible. So they're slowly setting a narrative. I believe this will be a great delusion. Once again, we'll be told that these are our alien brothers or our alien ancestors. This story just came out a few years ago. Is this picture a seed sent to Earth by aliens? Scientists discover mysterious organism. Even more interesting, this whole theory is called panspermia, and this is being pushed by a winner of a Nobel Peace Prize concerning DNA. His name is Sir Francis Crick. So they have these mainstream legitimate sources, once again, that are pushing these ideas. Here's another one of those stories. This came out a few years ago as well. We are star people. Scientific proof that we were created by aliens. So myself and many other people have covered the idea of the film Prometheus and what they were really talking about, which once again is the fallen angels mixing their DNA with human beings. So even in this story right here, which is a mainstream science story, You scroll down a little bit, and this is the picture you have. And here's another story. Once again, all of this is social engineering and predictive programming. Pacific Islanders appear to be carrying the DNA of an unknown human species. This from October of last year. And here's another story from last year. In March, our ancestors may have mated more than once with mysterious ancient humans. Gee, you think? Once again, we are back in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah. And of course, here's another story. This is from March of this year, 2017. Shock claim human DNA was designed by aliens, say scientists. So now you're beginning to see the bigger picture, right? You're seeing these connections. They're putting these stories out in the mainstream. They've been peppering these in for a few years now, more and more. And here's another one. This one is most interesting to me because of where it comes from. But this is going to draw that connection between the so-called Illuminati, or the hidden secret society controllers, the shadow controllers, and this whole alien, fallen angel, demonic agenda. And this is from 2013. ET genetic code may be found in human DNA, according to Kazakhstan scientists. 2 scientists in Kazakhstan believe humans may have an extraterrestrial stamp embedded into our genetic code. It's a mathematical message that would not be explained by Darwin's theory of biological evolution. The scientists are suggesting that an advanced alien civilization seeded our planet eons ago with an ET seed. So why this is so interesting, you may not know much about Kazakhstan. If you're not familiar with it, let's take a look at something here real quick. If you've been with my channel a while, you'll know that I reference this quite a bit. This is from the VigilantCitizen.com, a highly recommended website if you're into this kind of occult knowledge and whatnot. Wonderful work here. But it turns out that Astana in Kazakhstan is actually an Illuminati capital. Again, please check all this out for yourself. Check out some of the imagery there. It's absolutely unbelievable. It looks like some weird futuristic city with tons of Illuminati and satanic symbolism all throughout. So again, of course, we're going to find that narrative of the alien DNA coming out of a place like Kazakhstan. And just while we're talking about Kazakhstan, I'll show you something a little more recent about it. So the article that the Vigilant Citizen put up about this being an Illuminati capital was from 2009, and now we find this story from June 2017, just a few months ago, why Kazakhstan capital Astana could become the world's next hot travel destination. So once again, very interesting, right? Just another example of how they're mainstreaming this kind of occult knowledge, this stuff that at one time was so hidden, and now it's just becoming right out there in the mainstream. The Illuminati capital becoming a hot travel destination. And here's another really interesting story that falls right in line with this narrative. The FBI admits visits of beings from other dimensions and declassified FBI documents. Which brings us back to the subject of the video. Scientists are building a DMT machine that will help them, quote, talk to aliens. So back to the connection between DMT, these fallen angels, and these so-called aliens. But all you really need to do if you're interested in this is just look up different people's accounts of their DMT experiences. And inevitably, almost every single one of them match up in one way or another. Constantly they're seeing similar things. So this right here is a really interesting testimony I found about a DMT trip. And again, like I said, I went through many of these, and they all seem to be about the same. This is about a guy and his brother and a few friends, and they took some DMT. And in the past, they said they had seen pyramids, pagan temples, Hindu gods, minotaurs, centaurs, and all sorts of creatures. But in this most recent trip they took together, the first thing he saw was a Cambodian temple, and his friend saw a pyramid with an eye on top and people worshipping it. Another strange effect of DMT was that when he closed his eyes, he could still seem to see his surroundings as if his eyelids were transparent. With DMT, he had out-of-body experiences, he believed. Himself and his friends saw or heard things that they didn't know about until they looked them up later. So they were actually learning things on their DMT trip. For example, before this guy got into Hinduism, which he's currently into now, something said in his head, sounding like a voice, "I am God." And he found out later that this is a phrase that Hindus say. His friend saw the Hindu deity Ganesh and didn't know what it was, but described it perfectly. So after seeing and hearing these things on his DMT trip and then researching it later, it actually got him into worshipping idols, such as Vishnu, and studying the Mahabharata. He thought it was cool, and he felt that all paths led to God anyway. If it weren't for his brother getting smacked by God literally by a golden hand while using DMT, he would have continued doing so. It did help him understand a little bit about the New World Order, like their belief in a so-called Golden Age. He saw parallels to the Bible, like fallen angels and Nephilim. There's even evidence of historic high-tech battles in India on his DMT trips, like radiation and sand fused into glass, as if there were nuclear explosions many, many years ago there. Even in Greek mythology, there are stories of giants and of gods mating with humans. So after he studied all things Illuminati, New Age teachings, the New World Order, sorcery, UFOs, and all this other stuff, he finally came to the conclusion that he was contacting fallen angels, and that he felt this in his DMT trips. He felt that drug DMT was giving him demonic spirits and full access to them, and he was allowing them to have full access to his mind. And it appeared that the enemy can manipulate the mind of a DMT user any way he pleases. So moving on from those experiences, and I think those are very interesting, there is a book called DMT, The Spirit Molecule by Rick Strassman. It's been out there for some time now. And what's interesting is that he calls it the Spirit Molecule. So one doesn't even get past the introduction of the book without realizing a very important piece of the information he is given. And what is it? He admits that he has maintained a relationship lasting decades with a Zen Buddhist and their, quote, supervised drug sessions in a monastery. And in skimming over his book, it's interesting when you get to chapter 13. It's called Through the Veil. The author clearly admits that while reviewing his notes on the various volunteers who have taken this drug in various ways, they've all admitted to having contact with them or with other beings. And he says at least half of these people did so in one form or another. So research subjects use expressions like entities, beings, aliens, guides, and helpers to describe these creatures they were interacting with. The scary part, the quotes of the people describing these beings go like this, that there were these beings, that I was being led, and that they were on me really fast. One person describes tales of the self-transforming machine elves he encountered. Another participant says, I saw such strange dreams, but at the beginning only I saw strange creatures, dwarves or something. They were black and they moved about. I was in a big place and they were hurting me. They were not human. They were horrible. I was living in a world of weird orange people. And it was really strange. There were a lot of elves. They were prankish. They were ornery. They were cruel. Maybe 4 of them appeared at the side of a stretch of interstate highway I travel regularly. They commanded the scene right before my eyes. It was their terrain now. They were about my height. They held up placards showing me these incredible, beautiful, complex, swirling, geometric scenes in them. One of them made it impossible for me to move. There was no issue of control here. They were totally in control of me, and they wanted me to look. I heard giggling. They kept giggling. These elves or creatures were laughing or talking at high-speed volume, and I couldn't understand. At first it was a mandala-like series of visuals. Then an insect-like being thing got right into my face, hovering over me as the drug was going in. This thing sucked me out of my head and into outer space, and it was clearly outer space. It was a black sky with millions of stars. But there was a sinister backdrop, some kind of an alien-type insect, not quite pleasant. It wasn't like we're going to get you. It really felt more like I was being possessed. During the experience, there's a sense of someone or something else that's taking control of you. You're really not quite sure what's happening in there. It's got its own thing, its own flavor, its own visuals. And there were these reptilian beings, too. They were all around me, all these creatures. So I will leave you with that. As I said, as I was researching this, there are tons of accounts of DMT experiences you can look into for yourself. I mean, it'd take like hours to get into all the ones I was seeing out there. But what you'll find, time and time again, is very common experiences. These don't sound like heavenly angels. Many of these experiences are not very pleasant. And people are literally seeing Illuminati-style imagery, New World Order imagery in some of these trips. But more importantly, they're encountering these creatures, oftentimes these aliens, as they call them. Many experience the little gray aliens as well. And I think all this stuff gets so convoluted. All these people have these different theories and whatnot. But to me, it always goes back to the basics, that these are the fallen ones. These are demonic entities. This is all about getting us in communion with these things, connecting with the fallen, connecting with the demons. And now scientists are building a DMT machine that's going to help people talk to aliens. I personally will not be using this machine. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I thought it was very interesting. Once again, this is a part of a big narrative that I see playing out over the last few years, and we're seeing it really increase now. And I genuinely believe they're preparing us for some kind of a contact, which I believe will be a massive demonic delusion. So stay aware out there. Thanks for watching as always, you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you real soon.